Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Carlson. I'm the Chief Exec of Canterbury's Business Improvement District, and I'm here with my colleague Rachel, who's our Head of Marketing and Communication. And we are delighted to welcome Abby Sales to this session. So Abby is the digital marketing lead at Pillory Barn, and she's going to talk to us today about how we can improve our reach across social media. So we're really looking forward to that. There are always tips and tricks we can learn, and things are constantly changing on social. So thank you, Abby, for joining us today. Now, next week, we've got another exciting training session. So we've been running training since February. Most of it is online. So if you've missed a session, you can definitely catch up on YouTube or look on our website, and we'll put the links in the chat for that. Next week, we're doing a session on cost reduction services for businesses. So we have commissioned an organisation called the Place Support Partnership, who work in towns and cities across the UK, and they've managed to achieve really good cost reductions for businesses. So we've talked to other business improvement districts and other local authorities who've benefited from this recently. And once the wholesale prices of gas went down before Christmas, we thought actually this is a moment where we feel like we can make a difference. But they're also going to look at reducing costs on not only energy, but your merchant services, water, telecoms, anything. So if you're just curious, even if you're locked into something and just want to come along for that kind of education piece to improve your negotiating on these things going forward, or Place Support Partnership will also be working with us over the course of the next year, offering a one-to-one business support services for businesses in the city centre. Right, so that's us. We've got networking coming up, of course. We'll put all those links in the chat, but Abby, thanks again for joining us, and over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. So before I begin, I thought it would be good to start by introducing myself. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. So my name is Abby, and I've been working in the digital marketing industry since 2014. I work at Pillory Barn, which some of you may already know and have heard of. But for those who don't, Pillory Barn is a full-service agency in Kent. We have two offices, one based in Maidstone and one at Fruitworks co-working space here in Canterbury. We have been running for 30 years and have experience in digital-focused marketing, and we help businesses just build their brand. So in today's session, as Lisa mentioned, I'll uncover two key topics regarding social media marketing. The first one is how to grow your social media reach. And the second topic towards the end of this session is how to increase your social media engagement. Today's session, I was just saying to Rachel, I timed it this morning, so it's going to be about 30 minutes long, so I won't be keeping you for the full hour. And so let's start the session today looking at social media reach. Firstly, what do I mean when I say social media reach? Now, organic reach is the number of people who have seen your content through unpaid distribution. So without you putting any budget towards reaching a specific audience. Reach is measured by the number of unique accounts seeing your posts. This includes users who saw your post in their newsfeed whilst they're scrolling, or it's whether or not they've watched a story that you've posted, or watched a video that you've posted, or even browsed your account. And what I mean by this are people go into your profile page, say for example Facebook or Instagram, and scrolling through your content. So if they go to your profile page and they click on a post, that will count towards your reach. Unlike paid content such as Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, and TikTok paid nowadays, organic posts are generally not served to a target audience. Organic posts tend to reach your followers and the odd few who have searched the hashtags that you've used within your post, or they've searched for your brand. Each social media network has an algorithm that defines how organic content is distributed on the social media platform. So who gets to see your post? Now on to the important subject. Why should businesses care about their social media reach? Reach is used to measure brand awareness and how popular your content is to your audience. It's a metric that I recommend focusing on first, rather than measuring followers or impressions, as it counts the actual number of people your content is impacting, therefore growing awareness of your business. Reach can also be used when creating a marketing campaign. In the planning, analysing and reporting phase of your campaign, reach is one of your core metrics that I would recommend focusing on. Now, before I get into the tips, we need to cover a key question I get asked a lot at the agency when discussing social media. And that is why, and it's recently as well, why is my reach so low, or it's falling, or it's stagnant? Some of you here today might have seen across your social media in the last couple of months that your organic reach is seeing a slight decrease month on month or remains relatively low. Most people will first tell you that paid campaigns are the way forward. Just chuck money at it. As the likes Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn want to make money, and to some extent that is true. As you all know, a business has to make money somehow, but, so here's the huge but, it's not all about the money. Some businesses don't have budgets to put towards paid advertising to increase their reach or engagement on social media. We found social media platforms such as Instagram want to show users only the most engaging content and drop everything else. Hence why you might be seeing a lower reach over the last couple of months. It's a term that you might have come across and one that may be affecting your reach. It's called the newsfeed algorithm. Yes, social channels have algorithms that work in a very similar way to how Google search engines work. But I tell everyone, it is something not to be afraid of just because it has a fancy name. Algorithms are constantly changing, and in a recent change, social platforms are now adopting their own form of SEO to promote a positive user experience. And Instagram and TikTok are one of the highest channels that constantly change the algorithm. So being on top of the algorithms and just signing up to a few newsletters and learning about the algorithms is one key takeaway from today. Don't be afraid of it. It's quite straightforward once you get your head around. The change in the algorithm has meant that the likes of Instagram are putting your content into a pool as small as 1% of your followers. If those people engage, so the small pot of followers that see that post, if they engage with the content, then Instagram will introduce your post to a larger pool. Slowly but surely, more and more people see your post, which grows your organic reach. Now, one of the things that I use reach for, which I've mentioned already, when I start making a plan on any organic marketing campaign, I need to know the potential size of my audience. And the way I do this is by looking at the number of people I am reaching on my channels per post. This allows me to estimate the possible impact of your organic campaign. So when you're launching, say, for example, a new product, a rebrand, a new website, I would recommend going to your insights and looking at the reach that you get across your channels that you're currently on. Calculating reach also allows you to assess a campaign whilst it's happening. For example, if you post in the morning receives more reach than your post that you publish in the afternoon, you may consider shifting your campaign and your post to earlier in the day. Same goes for the day of the week. If your posts are reaching more people on a Monday compared to a Wednesday, you would switch your scheduling day to a Monday for that campaign. Keeping an eye on stats whilst you are posting content is key to better understanding your audience and the impact your posts are having. I will cover the right time of day and day of the week as one of my tips on improving your organic reach. Now that we've covered what is reach and why it's important for you as a business to concentrate on when planning a social media campaign, I want to move on to tips on how to improve your social media reach. So, the first tip, are you putting effort in the right places? Now, I have this discussion on a regular basis when talking to current clients and new clients and friends of friends. It's to ensure that you're posting in the right places. Most businesses will assume they need to have a presence on every single social media channel, from Facebook, TikTok to Pinterest, but that's not necessarily the case. Your audience may only be present on some media platforms, so why waste your energy? Choosing which network to focus on is easier than you think. So here are some quick ways to help you decide which platform is worthy of your time. The first one is simply ask your audience. So you can just go ahead and simply ask your audience, maybe try sending out a survey in an email, or even when you next speak to your customer day to day, maybe ask them what platforms they use for business and what platforms they use for personal purposes. We recently ran a competition to win a gift card if people completed a short survey about the business, its brand, and its social media presence. And one of the questions in that survey was, what channels are you on? What channels do you prefer to see our content? The second way is to look at your share count. This already shown across many social media analytical tools, and I'm happy to answer questions at the end on analytical tools if you need some help on where to find them. It's normally an icon with the share written on it on Facebook, or for Instagram, it's the upward pointing arrow. This shows who is sharing your content and, more importantly, where are they sharing it to. So, for example, you'll post the same post across all 4 key channels, and you see Instagram with the highest share, which will impact your reach positively. So, for example, if today I went on Facebook and shared one of your posts and it reached 50 of my followers, that will count towards your reach because I'm sharing it on my network and reaching my audiences. That will count towards yours. The third one is investigate your competitors. Now, it's one not to be afraid of. It's okay to look at your competitors now and then for a number of reasons. So it could help towards performance benchmarks for your own business. It could help inspire on new and better ideas for content and graphics. And the one key thing, it could also give you ideas for the best time to post on those channels or the best day of the week, which leads me nicely onto my next slide. Now, before I do, who here, and I know if you don't want to answer, don't worry, but who here thinks Monday is better to post than a Friday? Just raise your hands or wave, or everyone's got their cameras off. Just you can unmute if you'd like. Go on, Rachel.
I'm going to say Monday's better than a Friday.
Okay. Anyone else? Anna?
I think if,
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing.
Sinead?
I would have said the same thing, but I've seen on certain platforms massive engagement on Fridays.
Okay. Lovely. Well, the next slide might give it away a little bit. So, what times of day that you're posting and what day of the week? It's a question that still to this day, I still have to ask myself when scheduling social media. As Sinead mentioned, it depends on different social media channels, and it all depends on the audience that you've got on those channels. Most social media channels will allow you to find out what time your followers are active on that platform. On mobile view, Instagram shows a very simple graph of what day of the week and time of the day your followers are on that platform. This can be found after you've logged into your business profile on a mobile, it has to be. Go to your profile page and click on the button that says Professional Dashboard. But your account needs to be a business account. If it's a personal account, you won't have any of these insights. But if you're starting afresh on social media and you don't have a backlog of data and you need insights on what the best time of day is to post and what the best day of the week is to post for maximum reach, you can find many studies online to help you. And before we started this session, Rachel and I were having a conversation. The one I recommend is Hootsuite. They carry out a number of studies on social media on a regular basis, and one of which on the best time of day and day of the week. However, there is a caveat there. Be careful using these, as they are very, very generic and should only be used as a ballpark figure. As you post more regularly, if you're starting fresh, and as your accounts grow, you will want to tweak your posting schedule to better fit your audience behavior. You may be surprised how much it differs from the general population. So the best times to post on social media overall, generically, is 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But this may change depending on the audience you have per channel. Another question I get asked a lot is how often I should post on social media to reach a high number of my audience. Most businesses believe this is every day, but doing this might turn off your followers and you might see a dip in reach. The answer to this question is more complex than it sounds. So when working with social media clients, I adopt a strategy of posting less content, but with higher quality. Testing this kind of strategy may well increase your organic reach more than spamming your page with everything you can get your hands on. However, this doesn't always work across all clients. The main takeaway from this slide is to post as often as you like, as long as the content is of high quality, your graphics have been customized to that channel, and that you're not spamming your followers. And the easy way to look at this is just look at your follower count and your reach total. If you are completely lost, though, here are some insights I found for you to start with testing. So Facebook, you should post around 3 times a week. Twitter, once a day, but be careful with Twitter, as Twitter is a news blog heavy platform. So if you're looking at placemaking, it might not be a channel that you'd want to be on. Instagram, again, is once a day, but with Instagram, this does also include posting a story. So if you don't have any content to put on your feed, share someone else's content or share one of your previous posts to get them looking at your profile page. LinkedIn, I recommend posting 2 to 3 times a week. Now, in conclusion, make sure that you are spending enough time analysing the data that comes with every one of your posts. Use the data and feedback to adjust future posts to increase your organic reach. Third-party monitoring and analytic tools can be really helpful in analysing your data. Just be careful with the costs though. Now let's look at how to increase your social media engagement. First, what do I mean in social media engagement? You might have heard the term, what is social media engagement? Well, it's measured by a range of metrics and it differs from each channel. So it could be shares or retweets on Twitter. It could be comments, it could be likes, followers and audience growth. That counts as an engagement if you get a new follower. Click-throughs, so clicking a URL. Mentions, either tagged or untagged. People might count this as an engagement. Businesses might count this as one of their metrics to follow. Or even people using your branded hashtag when they're posting, say, a video of them opening one of your products. That all counts towards social media engagement. When looking at success on social media, mainly relies solely on follower count and growth. Of course, you want to rack up your followers, but ultimately the greatest measure of social media success is an engaged audience, not a big one. As a business, it's quality, not quantity, that you should be striving for. So let's look at some top tips on how you can increase your social media engagements. As most business owners know, constantly creating engaging content can be very challenging, especially if you must post daily to stay relevant and reach your target audience. But did you know that the UK was home to 57 million social media users in January of this year? That equates to 84% of the total population being on a social media channel. And the number of mobile devices owners continue to increase at a rapid rate. So my key takeaways and my top tips on creating engaging content is, firstly, make sure your posts are mobile friendly. If you've worked hard to create great images, fantastic engaging videos, reels for your social media posts, you want to make sure that they look good on a social media device. Now, portrait is the preferred dimension for social media platforms due to the high shift to mobile scrolling in recent years. And it's one that I discuss quite frequently with clients. So, for example, Instagram, if someone is scrolling through their feed and they have seen a landscape video, they will also see your competitors' post above and below, whereas portrait takes up the whole screen. So when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I might see your post, but I'll see that my mum's posted something, I'll scroll down, I'll scroll way past your post and I'll see my mum's post first. I won't even go back up to see what your post is. So make sure you're taking up the whole dimension of a mobile device by using portrait. Now, the second tip that I have on creating engaging content is less text and more video. Now, I rolled my eyes when Instagram updated their algorithm to show more video content, because creating video content is a lot of work. So if you've logged in to any social media platform recently, you might have noticed, Instagram primarily, and Facebook as well, that video content, you'll see it within 10 seconds of being on that platform. This is because video content typically performs best with most of the social media algorithms, based on the fact that it captures viewers' attention for longer rather than a still image or a graphic. Now, the last tip that I have is spark inspiration in people. Now, I've had many discussions on using quirky hashtags, and you might have seen hashtag Monday Mood or hashtag Friday Feeling. Now, they are a great way to engage with your customers. When used well, though, they can also boost your reach and your engagement. Now, as a brand, these types of hashtags allow you to show your followers the emotional side of your business. So don't be afraid to use them. There's Wednesday Wisdom, Sunday Share is a great one to be using if you want to increase your reach, because people will just want to share your content if it's of high quality. Now, using these hashtags, as I've mentioned, is an opportunity to show the human side behind the keyboard. So don't be afraid to mix it up and test different themes across your social media platforms to see what improves your reach and what improves your engagement. Now, moving on to some more tips. Use the right image. So I've come across quite a few businesses that use very corporate, content heavy images. I, for one, will scroll right past it. Unless it captures me with a quite heavy title, I won't be reading the text on the graphic. So use less text and more engaging images. So, for example, we've tested in the past on social media channels using more photos with faces in them. People heavy images, we found, tend to get more engagement on Instagram, and they can also, like I've said, humanize your brand. Well, you can always test this. So you can always post on the same day, the same time of the week, a graphic with your text on it. And then the following week, post a picture of just people in the office engaging into your brand, for example, or customers in a shop. Asking questions. Now, the second one is asking questions. This is my last tip on how to improve social media reach. There are many more, but I didn't want to take up too much of your time on a Tuesday morning. So ask your audience questions. A great way that I have found on Twitter is polls. People love a poll on Twitter, and that counts towards your engagement. And it can count towards your reach, because if I see that my colleague has engaged with a poll, I'm more likely to engage it because I think she's wrong, or I might think she's right. So it's always about teasing your customers and your audience to engage in your content. So asking questions is a great way to spark conversation. Make people feel involved in your brand, create a sense of community, and thus, like I just said, increase your social media engagement. People love sharing their experiences, and asking questions makes it easier for them to come forth and share what you think. It's one way that I recommend doing on your social media. Just test it on a weekly or fortnightly basis. You can ask them a poll on images. So you can put up the one that I recently did was a hot coffee compared to an iced coffee. And I just asked the audience, which one do you prefer? I got 32 comments on that post in Facebook, and that all counts towards your engagement. And because their friends have seen, they've commented on your post, that will then increase your social media reach. So just connecting with your audience and asking them questions is a great way to engage and increase your social media engagement. Now, the final tip that I have, and I may have spoken a little bit too fast today, but it's fine. I've got a lot to go through on this slide, and it's a passion of mine, this one. So it's one that we've recently had, and we've been discussing in this agency for quite a while now, to cross-post or not to cross-post. Now, cross-posting is a fast becoming go-to tactic by savvy social media marketers and business owners. It's basically to save time and resources when scheduling social media posts. Cross-posting sounds simple. You are sharing the exact same content on different channels. How tricky can it be? It's quite quick to do, but there are essential caveats to cross-posting processes that marketers and businesses need to understand. Posting the exact same message and graphic to every single channel without editing can cause your followers to switch off. How many of you has seen a business post a photo and in the content on Instagram it's got a URL? This tends to be because someone has scheduled the same post across all platforms. So for example, Facebook use URLs, but Instagram doesn't allow you to click it. In your posts on Instagram, just tailor them. So instead of putting the URL that you've put on your Facebook post, you can just simply say, link to our website is in our bio, and it will send them over to your profile page, and then thus clicking onto your website. Don't infuriate your customers and your audiences by putting a URL on Instagram that they can't click. The other one that I've seen recently is that you have a landscape video that doesn't quite fit the ratio of each channel. So for example, I've recently saw a landscape video being posted on TikTok, as it was probably only created for Facebook, LinkedIn, or even their website. Not tailoring your posts, as mentioned, can make you look amateur or robotic at best, and untrustworthy at worst. This can lead to fewer engagements, and this can also lead to a follower drop, which I have seen in the past. Social platforms differ, not only in the number of characters you can use, the number of hashtags you're able to add, or even the image formats and size that you're allowed to post. So it's best to understand and find out the best practices per channel when it comes to content. And the channels themselves, like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, if you Google best practices for organic posts on LinkedIn, go to the LinkedIn page, website, they have an article on top tips on what to do, what sizes to use, and content length, and the number of hashtags that you should be using in that post. Also, communities engage differently with content and post formats. So someone that's looking at an inspirational video of someone exploring Scotland on Instagram might not engage with it on Twitter. So just be really careful on what you're posting on channels. Between a post that looks sloppy and one that shines is better, which gives you higher engagement and higher reach because people are more likely to share it. This brings me back to what I mentioned before at the very start of this training session. It's analyze your data, utilize your insights to better understand your audience wants and needs on social media. The insights are free. Facebook Business Suite, Twitter analytics, and LinkedIn analytics are all free for you to use, so use them. This brings me nicely on to my last slide, which I wanted to thank you very much for joining me today. And I hope you've taken away a few top tips on how to improve your organic reach and social media engagements. There are a lot more out there, but I didn't want to take up too much of your time. Now, does anyone have any questions for me, or would you like me to go back through and focus on a slide?
Well, first of all, thank you, Abby. That was absolutely brilliant. And I've actually made a list of questions for you, and I'm going to do the whole family hold back in case there are other people with questions first.
Okay.
Whether do people want to put their hands up with any questions? And then you can just chat. We can chat through things. And if you want to wait, I can go ahead with a couple of questions first, and then if anything comes up, maybe put your hands up or put it in the chat. We can go through it with Abby.
Murray's got his hand
Oh,
up.
Jodie's also
Jodie.
got one as well. Jodie, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed that. My question was, you said early on in your slides about suggesting to sign up to a couple of newsletters to get information on the algorithms.
Yep.
I've got no idea like what newsletters you're referring to, but could you suggest a couple that I could go and sign up to learn more about algorithm?
Yeah, sure. So Facebook and Instagram have a recent blog on algorithm changes, but the one that I would prefer, it's called Girls in Marketing. So if you go onto their website, they've got tons and tons of blogs. And if you follow them on LinkedIn, they've got quite a few updates that they post regularly. So you don't have to go in and investigate the changes on the algorithms. They post constantly on changes coming to social media this week that you need to be aware of. So Girls in Marketing is one of the ones that I use to keep up with the latest trends on algorithm changes. I hope
That's great. Thanks so much. I'll do that.
That's right.
I've just put the link in the chat. Hopefully that's helpful. Anyone else with a question? You can't see. Okay, well, I'm going to jump in with my questions then. And apologies if any of them sound very stupid, which they probably will. Oh, sorry. There is a question in the chat from Murray Grady. I've been hearing about changes in the Instagram algorithm saying that carousels are becoming the best performing content on the platform. Is this true?
It is in some content. So you might have seen the news that Instagram was, because of the success of TikTok, they were showing loads of reels and loads of videos, but this soon turned off their audiences that are on those social media channels. And there was a huge uproar on Twitter about their recent algorithm changes. So yes, you are correct. But my best advice with anything is just to test. So what I've done in a recent client is a massive website image I broke up into 3 sections, and it's easy. You can use Canva, it's free, and they will automatically crop it into a portrait carousel. So I would just recommend testing. Do 1 carousel a week, 1 video and 1 static post, and see where you go from there. That would be my best advice, starting point.
Thank you. Oh, we get lots of comments saying thank you very much. There we go. Right, I'm going to jump in with a question then. First of all, I was really surprised to hear that that basically when you post, you are only going out to 1% of your audience, and therefore that you're kind of reliant on that engagement in order to increase. And I was just thinking about ways of engagement in order to sort of help get your brand out there. And I was wondering about influencers. Now, so Abby, for those that don't know, Abby oversaw our Christmas campaign this year, including a YouTube video that we put out that Abby managed for us, which was amazing. But one of the other things that we did during that campaign was to have an influencer come to Canterbury and to create fantastic video content for us. But that was sitting on their channel. And the thing that I was wondering about is whether if an influencer posts about you with amazing content, if they tag you in, is that engagement, and is that helping our socials? Or does it need to be more specific than that when they're posting? Because obviously it's on their channels to get engagement to their wider audience. how does it best impact your social channels?
So, very good question. On Instagram, if you ever hire an influencer, ask them to collaborate. So what this means is that they post on their channel and it will send you a notification to say that, say, Rachel at Bid has asked you to collaborate with you. That same post will go on your grid. So the reach and the engagements and the comments will count towards both of your engagement and reach count. But I would also as well, if an influencer has posted and tagged you, you're more than welcome to go onto their Facebook page and see how many people are sharing or see the comments. And also when hiring an influencer, ask them for data. So ask them for insights on posts that they've already shared. Make sure that they've put your branding or your brand name at the very top of the content to say that in collaboration with Canterbury Bid, because then it also works that they've seen a post from their favourite influencer, they've tagged them in the top section of the content, they're more likely to click on it rather than the influencer putting you and tagging you right down the bottom of the content. So one, ask them to collaborate, and two, ask them to tag you or mention you in the top fold of your social media content. The bit before the see more button.
Right, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abby. There's a question from Danielle. Come on in, Danielle.
Hi Rachel, thank you. Hi Abby. Thank you for your presentation. It's fab. I guess I've got a couple of questions. Well, one comment, I guess that I get hugely frustrated when I spend ages doing a reel or doing what I think is really engaging content and video and everything, and listening to what you're saying, and I get like hardly any engagement, and then I'll do something that I think is pretty crappy and I put together in like 5 minutes, and I'll get loads of comments and loads of likes, and I get really frustrated with that because I'm like, I don't get it, like where I feel like I'm putting out good content at the right time of day on the right day and zero engagement versus something I've thrown together and I think it's going to be naff. Don't know if you had any thoughts on that, or whether that's just luck of the draw.
No. Honestly, that is one of my main bugbears. So we recently went out filming at Betshanger Park, and we spent so many hours editing this video for it to then fall flat on its face.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I will say is don't be scared to repurpose your content. So as long as you're not resharing it within a week or resharing that reel in a day, so your post looks like exactly the same post day on day just to get the high reach, give it a couple of weeks, post it again, just with the different content, test the days of the week. It doesn't matter if your content, if you're resharing the same content or repurposing your content, because on Reels you can choose a different thumbnail. So when you're going
true. Yeah.
Instagram grid, it won't actually look the same, just change the thumbnail. That would be my best advice on Instagram anyway. Just don't be scared to repurpose your content. Just do it within a decent time frame to allow, say for me, for example, your audience to say, wait a minute, I saw that last week. Just give it some time between your posting when you're repurposing.
Okay, and then sorry, Rachel, just my other second follow-up question was just around, you know, I'm a female business owner, it's just me, and I'm often torn between how much, I know you're supposed to sort of bring yourself, you know, you are your brand and that's what people relate to and engage with, but how much of yourself do you put out there? You know, how much of you are we as a, you know, as Reward Events, as an event business, and how much of it is me? And I'm often conflicted with when I'm writing a post of I've done this today versus we've done this today. You know, it's not about making myself look like a bigger business than I am, because I'm very proud that it is just me, but I'm often torn with it, and so I mix it up. Sometimes it's me and I, and sometimes it's we, and you know, when I sometimes get confused how best to sort of position what I'm doing as me versus as a business. And equally when I'm trying to do video and live things, how much of your personal life should you be bringing to your brand, because that's what people are buying into, versus, you know, keeping it strictly professional and relevant.
I always use the rule of 3. So one post should be I and about yourself. And mainly when you're posting videos, you can always say me and I, and then just link your business name. It's okay. It's better to make it personable than just a generic, say, Pillory Barn did this. It's better coming from you as a business owner, promoting your business. And then next, I would just say, if you're promoting a new website or promoting a new product, and you're just doing a few teaser posts, you can say we are launching a new product next week. Keep an eye on socials, as we are looking forward to expanding the current customer offering. And then you can always do a video about launching that product and say I work really well with the team that I have at X, Y, and Z. So you're always bringing in the business name, and you're just making it more personable. What you've liked as a business, what your customers like as a business, it's all bringing it together. I hope that answered your question.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to sound stupid, but when you said rule of 3, so one rule was I.
Sorry, one rule is we, and one rule is corporate. So don't do all your corporate, do personable with business, and then you do your corporate. Tone of voice, rule of 3.
Brilliant, thank you. I've got a question from Sinead's got her hands up, and then I've got a question in the chat as well.
Okay, Sinead.
Thanks, guys, and thank you, Abby, for a great session. It was just to ask as well, and it was related to advice you were giving about content and when to share it as well. Is that we're finding certainly on platforms like TikTok, which people may be dipping their toe into, that you never know really when your posts on there will be seen. You will, if you're using things like TikTok and if people are getting used to it, you'll see a video that has been posted weeks ago or even months ago. So it's kind of challenging because, if you're using that platform, if it doesn't perform brilliantly immediately, you don't have to panic, because suddenly in the next week or maybe in the next month, it's suddenly gone. It could have gone viral if you're lucky, but it could have gotten a lot more interaction. Are we seeing any sort of relation with Facebook and Instagram, where we used to be so immediate, as in how is it performing right now? Do we need to give any sort of leeway, or what's the recommended time of kind of before you really judge when something has been successful or not on the channels?
Definitely. So I've seen on Instagram primarily, my reach peaks within the 24 hours, but then it also peaks 7 days later. So it's always best to do, and what we do at the agency is a monthly report and then a quarterly report. So you're constantly updating the figures as you go. So you'll get a peak the first 24 hours, you'll get another peak 3 or 4 days afterwards, maybe 7 days on TikTok, and then you'll just see it drop 3 to 4 weeks afterwards. So it's really in those first 1 to 3 weeks that you need to be focusing your metrics on. But when you do quarterly reporting, you'll look back at your metrics to see if they've increased or decreased. But yeah, I say 1 to 3 weeks. I saw a post that was posted 2 weeks ago on Instagram this morning on the way to work. So yeah, I think they're definitely testing, Sinead, definitely.
Brilliant, thank you.
That's right.
Excellent, thank you very much. Right, question in the chat. We constantly post on social, but still our engagement is low. Do you have any tips on that?
It all depends on what turns your customers on and off. So it might be the graphic that you're sharing that they're not engaging with. It can even be the content. So it's really best to post less, stop putting effort in posting every day and just posting more quality content. It's 9 times out of 10 on a mobile, it's visual. So it's probably the graphic or the video that's not capturing your audiences in that 10 seconds that you've got to impress them on a video nowadays. But yeah, I would primarily first off focus at the graphics, visuals that you're sharing, and ways to improve that. Canva's a great tool as well. They have loads of training sessions on what works and what doesn't work, loads of resource on there, and it's free.
Brilliant. Thanks, Abby. Danielle, your hand is up.
Sorry, me again. I'm just hearing other people's questions. It just made me think something when Sinead asked a question just about sort of the timeliness of posting. So, for example, I did something on International Women's Day, still not posted about it because I've been so busy. Is there a way of, back to your repurposing comment, of phrasing it in terms of, I mean, it's still International Women's Month, I guess I could tie it into that. But, you know, recently I did this, rather than today I did this, yesterday I did this, tomorrow I'm doing, you know, does it have to be so immediate? Because I'm always running around so much that I then have all this content and no time to do anything with it. And then I get so frustrated because it's like, well, then I might, you know, no one knows I did all this amazing stuff, and I don't have any sort of way of sharing it. So I wasn't sure if you had any tips of how to phrase things that you're maybe posting a little bit out of sync.
So a great question, and one that I've recently done. So name dropping clients now, Kent Mining Museum have crafternoon events, and the staff there, because they're so limited on staff, they're looking after children, doing crafting. They're not going to get out their phone and take photos, or they're not going to send me an image for me to post on that day. So one that I do quite frequently is, and everyone probably has seen this, is the Throwback Thursday. That hashtag is wonderful at looking back on your social media events. So we didn't take any photos of the October Crafternoon events, but March is the Easter holiday. A couple of weeks ago, I did a Throwback Thursday at the events we hosted last year. We've got exactly the same coming up this year. They're free, join now, buttons, call to action. So Throwback Thursday, or even hashtag Friday feature of the week. They might sound a little bit cliche, and some businesses they don't work on because your audiences don't interact with that kind of humour or that kind of laid back tone, but they do work really well.
And I guess you don't always have to timestamp something as I did this yesterday or I did this last week. You can just say, look at this amazing thing I did. Okay.
Exactly, and you can say recently. Even if it was 3 months ago, you can say recently I did this, or it's just sharing content and sharing what you're proud of and sharing the events that you've been busy doing, that people know that it's going to be a one-man band anyway. So yeah, Throwback Thursday, Friday feature is the best.
Cool. Look out for all my International Women's Day content coming soon. Thank you.
That's all right.
Brilliant, thank you. Right, this is the last call for questions. And there's one in the chat. Here we go. How many hashtags can we use in a post? And does broader hashtags, are they more powerful the broader the hashtag?
Yes. So hashtags, you get 30 on Instagram, but you don't have to use all the 30. And the hashtags as well with that, they have to be specific to the content that you're sharing. So the amount of times that I see a picture of Ramsgate and it's got hashtag Canterbury in it because they just want people seeing their post when they're searching Canterbury, they click on it, someone clicks on it, sees it, that it's Ramsgate, and then they're like, well, that's wrong, that's not. So use specific hashtags to that post. So you can use your branded ones, hashtag Pillory Barn, hashtag marketing agency. But if I'm posting a picture of a work event, I'm not going to then post Canterbury, Ashford, Herne Bay, Thanet. It's not going to work in terms of engagements. People aren't going to go onto your graphic when they're looking for Canterbury and like a photo of Ramsgate or London or something like that. So just be really careful. And in terms of generic hashtags, they get more reach, but just be very careful at the time of day, because if everyone is using hashtag photography at 6 o'clock at night, it's going to be really hard for your audience to see it if they're following similar accounts. So just be really careful. I normally say about 10 hashtags on Instagram, about 5 on Facebook, 2 on Twitter, and then on LinkedIn it's about 5 to 10. But LinkedIn's very corporate, very business skills training focused. So hashtag learning works really well on that one. So just be careful.
Fantastic. That's a really good question. I always I run out of space for the hashtags on Twitter because it's so limited in numbers.
And just on Twitter, Rachel, when you're typing the content, you can go back in and hashtag in the content. So if I was saying Kent Mining Museum is hosting an event today at Crafternoons, I would just hashtag event. I wouldn't put them underneath the content, just hashtag as you're going. That's another tip I always do.
The genius.
Safe
Thank
space.
you. Brilliant. Has anyone got any more questions? Otherwise, I think, oh, yes, Murray, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just wondering whether you can kind of compete with your own. So if you've done something that is you're particularly keen, it's particularly important that people see it and you want it to be successful, is there any value in giving it some breathing space and not posting the day after, for example, or does that not impact reach?
No, you can. And another way, say if you're running a competition, pin it to the top of the page. Facebook and Instagram allow you to pin posts at the top. And just recently we saw 200 clicks to a profile page on Instagram. So those 200 clicks to that profile page would have seen that post because it was pinned to the top.
Yeah.
So you can always pin for a certain amount of days and then unpin it and it will just carry on. Normally when I pin things, I do tend to see that the other posts that I post whilst it's pinned see less reach. So just be really careful with that.
Okay. Thank you.
That's right.
Brilliant. Okay, the messages in the chat are all just saying thank you very much, Abby. So I shall echo that. Thank you for your time and excellent presentation. We have recorded the session, so I'm going to share a link with you all afterwards. And I'll also, Abby, if it's okay, I'll include your contact details if anyone wanted to talk to you about Pillory Barn and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people might not want to ask questions on here, so I'm always free to answer questions via email. If you think of a question later on this afternoon, just drop me an email.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this morning. It's been lovely to see you all. Hope the session's been useful for you. Judging by the chat, I think it has. So thank you, Abby. We will be in touch. As you know, we've got other training sessions coming up and the link was in the chat for that. We've got networking coming up and hopefully we'll catch up with all of you very soon. So thank you. Have a lovely Tuesday. Is there a hashtag Tuesday, Abby? What's hashtag Tuesday?
Oh, tip Tuesday tip.
Oh, well, there we go. We've
go.
had lots of tips.
I should have put that in the slides.
Brilliant.
Next
All right,
time.
well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, and a special thanks to Abby.
Thank you, everyone.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.